and welcome back to the most amazing channel on the internet. I'm your host Rebecca Felgate, and today I am talking about the top 10 creepy reincarnation stories part 2. You guys loved part 1 so much. Danny Burke, the king, hosted it. You were asking for a part 2. He's not here today, so I thought I'd do it for him. But before we get into this video, I know you really want to hear it, I want to ask you guys if you believe in past lives, or if you feel like you remember a past life yourself. Perhaps you've had a sense of deja vu or something you simply can't explain. I don't specifically remember a past life, but I do feel like I've lived a few times before. In my previous life, I feel like I was a male rapper. It's a very, very strong sense I have there. I feel like it was happening. I know it's weird. I can't explain it. It just was. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. Let me know who you were. Do you remember your name? I'd love to hear it. Also, while you're down there, why don't you like this video and share it with a friend, and also check out the links in our description box to our most amazing Instagram. Do stick around to the end of the video where I'm going to be reading out a comment from part 1. Alright, buckle up, settle in, have a cup of tea, let's do this. Coming in at number 10, we have the incense maker. The case of the incense was so intense that it ended up being studied by a psychology professor at the Faculty Society Science at the University of Iceland. The story goes that a girl called Panima Ekanyake from Sri Lanka, who would talk about her previous life from the moment that she could talk, basically was adamant that she'd lived before. At 4, she saw a temple in a different region of town on the television and claimed to her parents that she'd lived nearby, despite never having been there. The things that she would say got weirder and weirder as she got older. She told her mother that she had another mother and father and that she worked in an incense factory, but she died in a bus accident. I know kids say some weird things, but this does seem pretty specific. Panima had 2 birthmarks, and she said that they were where the bus had run her over in a previous life, causing her injuries. One day her mother was sad about a person dying in a car accident, to which she tried to comfort her, saying that she died in a car accident too, but she'd been brought there. Weird. Eventually her parents became convinced that their daughter had lived a previous life, which was when the psychology professor got involved. In his research, he managed to trace the incense factory that the girl said that she'd worked at, and he discovered that the person she identified with in her previous life was a man. He found the man's brother, the factory owner, who confirmed that his brother did die in a bus accident while bringing incense from market. Now this was 2 years before the little girl's birth. The professor brought Panima and her family to the town, which they had never been to, but of course the girl recognized. She met the man who may or may not have been her brother in a previous life and immediately recognized him. He was actually really freaked out by her, but she managed to win him around. She knew so much detail about his life, and also she knew exactly how to make incense, despite that not being a skill that she'd ever been exposed to. When the brother saw her birthmarks in the exact spot that his brothers had succumbed to his injuries, he became a believer. Another story of brothers at number 9. Things are getting even weirder. This is the story of the Christiansen brothers, and it is so strange and somewhat unsettling. So Patrick Christiansen was born in Michigan in March 1991. He was the light end of a dark tunnel for his parents, who had lost a child called Patrick, aged just 2, 12 years prior. Patrick was born like any normal baby, but as he started to grow, doctors noticed that things were not quite right. He walked with a slight limp and developed a nodule on his scalp, which he had biopsied. Sadly, it was discovered that he had cancer and he was given chemotherapy. Now this left him with scars to the right hand and on his neck. Sadly, he died shortly after his 2nd birthday. His parents obviously were devastated. 12 years later, enter his brother Patrick. Now, Patrick had very strange birthmarks in similar spots that his brothers had scars. When he grew a bit, his parents found that he was walking with a limp, but doctors found that there was actually nothing wrong with him. When he was 4 years old, he told his mother that he wanted to go back to the orange and brown house, a house eerily matching a description of the family's old home that he'd never been to, but his brother had lived in. As he could talk more, he asked his mother if she could remember when he had surgery. She was baffled. She said he'd never had surgery, but then he pointed to a place where his brother had had his biopsy. It certainly seems as if Patrick was living Kevin's memories. We have a very strange story at number 8. We have The Choice. This isn't so much a reincarnation story as it is an incarnation story, a story of a child who remembers actually picking their parents. Sounds strange, right? Keep on listening because things get very weird. Judy Smith, who is now a pensioner in her 70s, says that she remembers being somewhere above the earth looking down at a gathering of pairs of people. It was then that she heard a voice in her head asking her to pick between the group, asking her to pick her parents. parents. The voice said that they would teach her everything that she needed to know, she just needed to pick. Now she remembers this so vividly to this day, and she told her parents when she was old enough to talk that she had actually chosen them. She doesn't remember too much about the place she was in when she was choosing, only that she was high up. Her story is echoed in that of other children in the press who have claimed that they have chosen their parents in similar situations. Really weird, but I have to say, if I could choose, I would still pick my mum and dad. Here's a picture of them from the 80s before they had me. Big love! Coming in at number 7, we have The Truck. Dr. Wayne Dyer wrote a book about reincarnation called Memories of Heaven. Make of that what you will, but some of the stories are pretty interesting. In that book, he shared the disturbing story of mother Els van Poppel. Els had a son who was nearing his 2nd birthday when he said something extremely disturbing as they were about to cross the road. He gripped his mother's hand and said, "Careful, or else I will die again." His mother was so shocked by what her son said, but he wasn't done. He continued by saying, "Remember when I was little and I fell and my head was on the road and the truck drove over it." Jesus, that really takes the biscuit of creepy things that kids could say. But now Els was absolutely sure that her son had never had a nightmare like this, nor had he actually seen anything like this on television that might have been similar. Dr. Wayne Dyer also shared the next story in his book. We have The Foreign Mother. Now this story is about his own daughter. Serena Dyer would often talk in her sleep. At first her parents thought she was speaking nonsense until they listened harder and realized that actually she was talking another language. One night she woke up shouting in this other language and her mother went to comfort her. In a dazed and confused state, Serena said, "You're not my real mother. I have a real mother that I remember, but it's not you." Imagine hearing that, honestly, that's so heartbreaking, and also, what is going on? One more short creepy story from Dr. Wayne's book that I really want to mention because it is so scary. We have The Child Mum at number 5. It seems that mother Suzanne Robinson was tired one day. Honestly, looking after kids can be super exhausting, and I'm saying that and I don't even have them, so imagine if you did and I don't know, they're there all the time, they want attention and you just want a nap. So anyway, Suzanne fell asleep, which I think is totally understandable. She was looking after her 3-year-old daughter at the time, and she woke up to her daughter stroking her hair in a very maternal and caring way. When Suzanne came round, her daughter said, "Don't you remember? I used to be your mother." What are you talking about? No, you didn't, you're my child. Okay, let's take a light break from all this intensity, shall we? All of these stories have been really intense, but I feel like I need a little splash of breathing space. At number 4, I really want to talk about how Nicolas Cage is either reincarnated or is legit a time traveler. Either works. Have a look at Nicolas Cage. Here he is in all of his glory. What a man, what an actor. Well, here is a Civil War man from Tennessee who is also actually Nicolas Cage. Hello there, Southern States Cage. How you doing? The image surfaced after an eBay seller attempted to sell the 1870s portrait on the auction site. Now in the description, they claimed that Nicolas Cage was a vampire. Of course, logical explanation. David Letterman even asked Cage about it on his show and he denied it. Okay, maybe he isn't a vampire, but he is the spit of this guy, so I'm saying he was probably reincarnated. Okay, back to the intensity. Coming in at number 3, we have The Bridge. Back in 1994, a woman went on the Oprah Winfrey Show to talk about her daughter Leah. It seems when Leah was just 2 years old, she was in the car seat of her mother's car and the pair were driving over a bridge. As they were driving, she suddenly exclaimed, "This is just like where I died." What? Her mother, of course, was extremely shocked, but her daughter explained it all in a matter-of-fact detail. Have a listen.
I said, "Well, who was driving the car then?" And she said, "I was big. I could reach the pedals." And she has no clue that you need pedals to drive a car. She's 2. She's in the car seat.
I legit do not know what I would do if somebody said that to me. It seems her daughter was telling her that she was in an accident where she drove off a bridge and drowned. Her mother pressed her further and she said that she wasn't wearing a seatbelt when she drove off the bridge. Then she said this.
"I was laying on the rocks. I could feel the rocks on my head." And she said, "And see the shiny bridge." And she points up. She's looking up. And she says, "See the shiny bridge and the bubbles going up."
Honestly, that is terrifying. This is a very interesting story at number 2. We have The Boy from Barra. Now, Barra is a small island in the Outer Hebrides in Scotland. Cameron Macaulay from Glasgow was absolutely convinced that he'd lived there despite never actually having been. Ever since he was able to talk, he told his family members that his mother on BARRA, other mother, must be missing him. At first his mum was totally weirded out by it, but she didn't think too much of it because, you know, kids and their imaginations. But then he started describing his life in very accurate detail. He said he lived in a white house with 3 toilets and that he had a black and white dog and his family owned a black car. He said that he had a mother with long brown hair and his dad had died from quote unquote not looking both ways. He also explained the beach of BARRA in super great detail. His parents decided in the end that enough was enough. They actually believed him. They were gonna take Cameron to BARRA to find the house. They went to BARRA and you know what? They did find the house. But there was a different family living there than Cameron remembered. That being said, he knew his way around it and it did indeed have 3 bathrooms. The beach was also exactly as Cameron had described. Eventually, the family traced a distant relative of a family who had previously lived in the home. Now, that family had a black car and a black and white dog. Creepy. Finally, so creepy, so weird, I don't know what I would do. At number 1, we have the Nazi pilot. Imagine your child starts drawing swastikas. Disturbing, right? Well, they probably don't know what it means, but then imagine asking him what they were drawing and then discovering that your child could well be the reincarnation of a Nazi Luftwaffe bomber. Like words, I don't have words for this. Val Eden noticed that her 5-year-old son was drawing eagles and then a swastika. When she asked what he was drawing, he replied totally innocently that he was drawing his badges. It seemed that when he was younger he would also wake up from terrible nightmares in which he said his leg was missing after a plane disaster. Of course that's super weird and really vivid for a 2-year-old. When he was 6, his dad found a picture of a plane cockpit in his son's room and little Carl was able to pinpoint in exact detail all of the gauges, levers and pedals, including the one that would drop a bomb. It seems that his nightmares came back and got even more vivid as he got older. He could explain his dreams now. He said that the engine of his plane had died, he opened a hatch to try and get out, but his right leg was gone. The boy had a red birthmark on his right leg. Strange. When his parents pressed Carl, he was able to explain his exact uniform. He said he was in the Air Force, and also he was able to explain the exact model of warplane that he was flying. His obsession with his past life grew, and he would describe to people at school how his former father Fritz would teach him about flowers and trees. He also said he was supposed to marry a woman from his village and he was sad when he died because he couldn't. On a side note, it seemed that actually a few Luftwaffe bomber planes had come down near where the Eden family were living in Middlesbrough. Now this had all happened in England in 1942 and 3 bodies were found. Fast forward a few years, Carl actually ended up being murdered as a young adult. His story is super crazy and so worth looking into if you can. You don't have time in this video to uncover all of the ins and outs of it. It's worth an hour-long video just of its own. Like I said, it is so interesting. I will say though, researchers may have uncovered the lost body of a German pilot that he thought he was. Now this was all happening a few years after Carl's death. It seems that there was a 4th body that was found decades later from another plane that had come down with the others in 1942. The body was identified as Heinrich Richter. Here's a picture of him. Now, here's a picture of Carl as an adult. They bear more than a passing resemblance. I for one, actually, am quite convinced. Whoa guys, what a list! This was so intense. I honestly don't know how I feel now. This is like really eerie. It makes my hairs stand on end. Do let me know what you think about reincarnation in the comments section down below, and do share any creepy stories you may have. Also do let me know if you think you yourself have been reincarnated. If you can explain deja vu, I'd love to hear your explanation. Okay, I want to read a comment from part 1, and I know that this video has been super long, but I just wanted to read one that really stood out. Now it is about the Titanic, which really got me excited. This is a comment from Cody971. They said, when I was a kid I used to have dreams and visions of being on the Titanic. I was obsessed with the Titanic and I still am. One time I was reading a book and I found somebody on board the Titanic that looked like me. As I grow older, the visits stopped, but I do still have the dreams. In the dreams, I'm enjoying the trip with my family. One night, I was in bed and I felt like my feet started to get wet. I woke up my family. The only thing I could think to do was open the door. In my dream, I remember a hole. When we opened it, the water rushed in. It threw me down. I tried to swim and grab my brother. I was young in my dream and I couldn't swim hard enough. Eventually, I ran out of energy and it all went black. This is when I finally wake up in my dream. Ugh. It's been an ongoing nightmare since I was young and it keeps on coming back. The only person that would listen to me is my grandmother, but she's gone now. I'm older, but the dreams keep coming, and I'm still obsessed with the Titanic. Wow, what a comment! I mean, that is super intense. I don't know how to even explain that, but just say thank you so much for sharing your story. Once again guys, if you are watching, do share your stories in the comment section down below, and if we make a part 3, I'll read them out. For now though, please do like this video and share it with a friend, especially if you love these really long, interesting, most amazing videos. Do give me a thumbs up, it makes me happy. Look in the description box at our Instagrams. I'm your host Rebecca Felgate, and I'll see you next time. Bye!